Hi everyone, this is Hana. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. The story I'm about to tell is based on my personal perspective as just one of countless human beings living on Earth. I have the right to speak my mind and raise my voice. And just as you have the right to your opinion, my opinion is valid too. Remember, to be respected, you must first respect others. Few days ago, Sunday, February 8th, 2026, 100 million people around the world were watching the Super Bowl halftime show. But what we saw was not just a music concert. It was a huge declaration, a signal flare marking a turning point in our era. The main character, Bad Bunny, poured out energy for 30 minutes. To me, he looked more American than anyone else. He looked more presidential than Donald Trump. But right after the show, President Trump posted on his social media, worst ever, disgusting, not American. Why was he so angry? Because the 30 minutes Spanish replaced English, and brown skinned people took over the stage. To Trump, this was not a show, it was an invasion that destroys American values. Trump and his slogan, MAGA, Make America Great Again, have maintained power by stimulating fear. The fear that immigrants will replace us. But Bad Bunny turned that fear into a global festival. When we group people as just immigrants, we objectify them. We don't feel their emotions. But when we know their names and faces, they become people who matter. Culture does exactly that role. Ironically, despite Trump's curse, to me, Bad Bunny's stage felt like the most American moment. It felt like evidence that the giant melting pot called the USA had started to boil again. The myth of the land of opportunity was revived more splendidly than ever. The most satisfying punch of this show was the language. In the US, telling immigrants to speak English is not just about communication. It is a pressure to obey the mainstream society. But Bad Bunny, during the most expensive 30 minutes in the world, he did not compromise. He sang only in Spanish. He planted a powerful self-esteem in tens of millions of Hispanics and immigrants. Our language is not shameful. Some people criticize this. Even some Koreans say, it's not American. I don't understand the lyrics. Sports and art should not be political. But wait, the US has no official language designated by the Constitution or federal law. And out of 340 million people, 60 million speak Spanish. That is 19% of the population. Most of them didn't cross the border. We didn't cross the border crossed us. They lived there long before the US drew the line. Also, Bad Bunny is the most streamed artist on Spotify globally. Saying I'm not comfortable because it's not English is, in itself, a political statement. And let's be honest, the NFL is a huge political group. In a capitalist society, art and sports cannot be separated from politics. Saying I'm not political is also political. Activist Angela Davis once said something important. For example, if a student says, I don't care about that policy, they are ignoring the effect of that policy. They are choosing to accept the situation as it is. So actually, they are supporting that policy. I'm not political is also taking a stance. Every human being is political. We complain about subway fares, we worry about gas prices, we complain about the price of eggs, sugar, and flour. We talk about celebrities and fashion brands. That is all politics. This show was a solemn tribute to Bad Bunny's homeland, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, but they cannot vote for the president. And during disasters, they are neglected by the mainland. Trump even called it a floating island of garbage. Bad Bunny took the flag of that garbage island and put it in the center of the world. He shouted with his whole body, "Look, we are beautiful, we are strong." Right now, the US is a battlefield. The force trying to go back to the past, which is MAGA is doing, is colliding with the force moving to the future, diversity. The 2026 Super Bowl was an event where Bad Bunny's cultural power kicked down the wall of hate built by Trump's political power. He didn't use guns or hate speech. He used a microphone, rhythm, and dance. It was not physical violence, but it hit harder than any political speech. Trump might hold the political power, but this show confirmed to the world that cultural power is already on the side of the new generation and diversity. It was a satisfying drama where the rigid language of politics was disarmed by the flexible power of culture. Deep down, Trump and his supporters have fear. Trump posted, "No one understands what this guy is saying." This expresses his isolation. The world sings along to Bad Bunny, but the president is the only one who doesn't understand. In social psychology, this is a defense mechanism of a power holder who feels his status is threatened. Instead of admitting his cultural illiteracy, he defines difference as wrong and strangeness as a threat. His defense was almost a comedy. He suddenly bragged about the stock market on his social media and trying to hide behind the money in front of a stage where soul and identity are dancing. It showed how small he is. Most symbolically, he was not at the Super Bowl. Levi Stadium in California respects diversity. He was afraid of the boos, so he hid in his safe house at Mar-a-Lago typing on his smartphone. And an old power holder turned into a keyboard warrior. Bad Bunny, on the other hand, occupied the heart of the NFL enemy territory. Football has been a symbol of conservative white male culture, but Bad Bunny turned it into a carnival. As philosopher Bakhtin said, in a carnival, the hierarchy is overturned. The king is mocked and the clown becomes king. At the end of the show, he shouted, "God bless America." It was the only English he used in the show. But this was not a compromise. It was a strategic twist. In the past, he refused to stand up for this song at MLB Stadium, but this time he hijacked the meaning. Right after saying it, he listed every country in the Americas. Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and the United States, Canada, and my country, Puerto Rico. He reminded us America is not just the USA. It is the name of the vast continent, from south to north. Past silence was anger at the USA. Today's shout was a blessing for the Americas. Trump tried to build a wall. Bad Bunny tore it down with names of nations. The true greatness of this show lies in the details. Indian theorist Spivak asked, "Can the subaltern speak? Can the oppressed speak for themselves?" Bad Bunny answered, "Yes, we can speak in our own way." Look at his jersey. Number 64, name Ocasio. Bad Bunny's real name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio. Usually in Spanish culture, the father's name Martinez comes first, but he chose his mother's name Ocasio. It was a rejection of the patriarchal order, a feminist statement declaring his roots are with his mother. And the number 64, it is his mother's birth year. It is the year of the Civil Rights Act in the United States. And painfully, it is the fake death toll of Hurricane Maria. The government claimed only 64 people died, but studies revealed about 3,000 people died. He carried the souls of the forgotten victims onto the global stage. The dancers wore straw hats called Pava. They held machetes, tools for cutting sugarcane and weapons for resistance against the colonizers. The stage background was a sugarcane field, symbolizing the history of the colonial exploitation. Then the wedding scene. The couple on stage were real people, not actors. He wanted to show real life. Then Lady Gaga appeared as the wedding singer, a white pop star singing in Spanish, dancing salsa. Usually, immigrants mimic the mainstream culture, but here, the mainstream, Lady Gaga and white, assimilated into the Latin culture. Reverse assimilation. The power dynamic was flipped. In the climax, he gave his Grammy trophy to a 5-year-old child. People were reminded of Liam Lemos, a 5-year-old child wrongfully detained by ICE in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bad Bunny promised the future to these children. You are not criminals. You will be the main characters of this stage. Also, Ricky Martin sang Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, comparing the tragedy of Hawaii to the gentrification of Puerto Rico, a solidarity of colonized territories. The song El Apagón, the blackout, started with an exploding power pole, criticizing the privatized power company in Puerto Rico, singing about blackouts on the most expensive stage with the brightest lights. What a black comedy. And finally, the Puerto Rican flag. Decades ago, owning this flag was a crime. You could go to jail for 10 years, but he waved it proudly. Korea also has similar memories and pain from the Japanese colonial period. You tried to erase us, but we survived. He slammed the football on the ground, written on the ball, "Together we are America." If it's not together, it's not America. He slammed the ball to signal the end of the white-only America. Of course, we must be cold-headed. Who planned this show? The NFL and JG's Capital. They have their own scandals. Maybe they use the Bad Bunny as a shield. But the fundamental reason is the market logic. The NFL knows the white male market is saturated. There's no more money there. To survive, they need a new market: Latinos, Asians, women, Gen Z. This is the great irony. To make money, the conservative NFL had to sell diversity. Capitalism betrayed Trump to survive. This is the paradoxic function of capital. Also, Adorno from the Frankfurt School warned us. He said the culture industry paralyzes our critical mind. It turns even resistance into a product. We consume the safe rebellion on TV and the system remains safe. Maybe Bad Bunny's resistance was just a fancy accessory for the NFL's profit. However, regardless of the intent of capital, the people have chosen. Antonio Gramsci talked about cultural hegemony. True power comes from intellectual and moral leadership, not physical force. He called this a war of position. We are witnessing the moment where the winner is decided. Trump might be the master of the White House, but the cultural hegemony has already moved. From white men to the multiracial, multicultural young generation. Bad Bunny's success is not a planned product. It is the result of the public's desire. Trump bills were, but people crossed them riding the rhythm. Bad Bunny's show will shake real politics. Trump called it disgusting was a fatal mistake. He poked the sleeping giant, the Latino voters. Bad Bunny is a political icon who actually toppled a governor in Puerto Rico before. Insulting him is insulting millions of voters. Trump should be afraid of this backlash. This will reignite the debate on Puerto Rico's status, statehood or independence. The battle line has moved completely. It is no longer PC versus anti-PC. It is the past, English only, versus the future, global. Young people, Gen Z and Alpha, experience a huge political efficacy. The culture we like is now the mainstream. They don't fear Trump. They mock him as a meme. They learn that culture is the most powerful tool to change the world. Why did the world go crazy, include me? Because we rediscovered hope. We rediscovered the American dream. Hope is not just optimism. It is the confirmation of our receptivity. We are ready to enjoy your culture. How about you? How about me? How about us? This cross-border solidarity of fandoms has become an everyday revolution. In 2020, K-pop fans of BTS, the ARMY, raised $1 million for Black Lives Matter movement in 25 hours. They emptied Trump's rally in Tulsa through digital activism. They went to the UN and the White House. And even more surprisingly, this playful culture evolved into a physical revolution. In my country, South Korea, during the December 3rd martial law crisis in 2024, citizens ran to the National Assembly. They didn't hold the Molotov cocktails. They held the colorful K-pop light sticks. Those lights, used for concerts, become the torches of democracy. They stopped the martial law. Culture and fandom became the most peaceful and powerful civil power to protect the Constitution. After the Super Bowl, people are saying now, I hope K-pop performs next year. This is the liberation of imagination. Why not? Bad Bunny kicked the door open. Now BTS, Blackpink, Stray Kids, etc. Who knows? Asia and all minority can walk in. Capital has moved, culture has moved. Politics can try to stop us with laws, but they cannot stop the rhythm. The malice of the old generation cannot beat the vibe of the new generation. As long as we have the hope to accept each other, this cultural protest will continue. Politics still belongs to Trump, but hegemony belongs to Bad Bunny. And we really love story where music beats power. Thank you so much for listening to my long story today. If you have any thoughts about Super Bowl, culture power, or Trump's reaction, let me know in the comments down below. If this video resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Welcome to Hana's Island. You are safe here now. I see you soon. Take care. Bye.